Hey, hi guys, welcome back to our channel for another interesting episode. Herein today, we are going to see a case study about a regression analysis, and this is going to be a very basic level case study. That is, all those who are beginners who have just understood what is regression. I mean, who have already watched my previous videos, wherein I have created the playlist also for regression. So in that we are discussing about simple linear regression. So what do we mean by simple linear regression? A simple linear regression is nothing but when we have one single input and obviously one output. And of course, my y has to be continuous. All right then, and for that, I am going to, the case study we have discussed in the last session as well. Okay, so the previous video you can watch. At the end of that, we have discussed about this case study. Okay, but I am again going to, brief you about this case study so that the people who are watching it for the first time maybe can understand the case study, and then we are going to solve it by using the R tool, R programming language we are going to use, and I'm going to create 5 to 6 models. Okay, so different models, how to analyze between the models, all that things we are going to learn in this particular episode. So before beginning with our case study analysis for simple linear regression, for those who are watching me for the first time or watching my channel for the first time, watching any of my video for the first time, this is my introduction on your screen. My name is Pranav Gandhi. I am a trainer and consultant. My total industry experience is 22 years, and these are the various industries domains I have worked in, which you can see on the left of the screen. In the middle of the screen, you can see my academics and certifications, and obviously at the bottom, these are my contact details. So you can use any one of this medium. If you have any queries or if you want to give me any feedback, you can please reach me out by using this communication details, right? So this is going to be the episode number 4 as far as regression analysis is concerned, right? And today we are going to discuss, obviously, as I said, a case study of simple linear regression, right? So let us understand the business problem first, right? So for those who are new and watching it for the first time, or obviously I'm doing it for the first time, so I would like to spend couple of minutes on do's and don'ts, or the procedures, okay, the procedure to be used to solve any given business problem when it comes to data science analysis, right? So first of all, so this is going to be the procedure to solve a business problem, right? So I'm writing here procedure. Okay, so number one, first we have to understand the business problem very well. Understand the business problem very well, or we can say understand the goal or decide the goal. Decide goal. What is second thing? Collect data, obviously. After understanding the business problem, what we do? We tend to collect data. What is 3? Number 3 is called as EDA. So once we get the data, we do our EDA analysis, that is exploratory data analysis, right? So in this, we clean the data, we do lot of plottings, visualization basically. Visualization, we try to understand the data, basically exploration of the data, right? So cleaning, visualization, or if suppose I want to do I want to decide whether I want to use any imputation technique or not, or you may say probably I want to see the data types of the columns given to me, that is input and output variables. Then probably I would like to check whether there are any null values, right, etc. So I'm going to create a complete different video on this entire process of EDA. Okay, for now just we will stick to that. Then number 4, we start doing our modeling, and this there are few steps in between this, but because we have just started to build upon the models or something, those who are watching my channel, okay, and if you see serially I am covering one by one topic, okay, so there are some steps in between. You can do them in sequence, or you may do it after doing some of your analysis or modeling as well. You can come back and do some things, okay. So there are let me give you example, like splitting of the data into train and test, okay. All these things I am going to cover it one by one, because from first problem itself, if I do all the things, it will be very difficult to understand. So slowly we will build upon, okay. And that is why I have taken a very simple example over here, wherein we are going to build 6 models. This is going to be an example of simple linear regression. So after that we will move on to multilinear regression. So in that, when multiple variables are there, so in that also we are going to learn few different techniques, okay. Then we are moving towards logistic regression. In that also we are going to learn few different techniques, right. So apart from this, what we are learning today, apart from this, there will be additional techniques can be utilized. So when we are learning it for logistic regression or multilinear regression, that doesn't mean that you cannot apply those techniques to solve this business problem, okay. So there is no sequence to it, okay. And techniques will be something like once you complete this entire understanding of data science topics and what you can say, different models, maybe classification model, regression model, all these things, so when you complete this with me at least, okay, then probably while solving your business problem, you will think that no, this technique only applied to simple linear regression, or this technique, because we have seen it while solving the problem of a multilinear regression, so I can use that technique only for multiple linear regression. No, it's not like that, okay. That is what I'm trying to say, okay. Any of the technique we can use where it fits, correct. So 4th stage will be the modeling stage. Then different models we will write, and we will try to improve upon our models, okay. Then 5th stage will be what you can say, analyzing our models, or assessing our models, okay. So probably I can use a term like finalization of a model, right. Yes, evaluation. I was actually trying to remember evaluating the models, and then the 6th one will be finalization of the models, and of course the 7th stage will be deployment, right. So there are 8 to 10 steps actually, but today we are going to do only these 6-7 steps, being the first model we are going to build, and slowly we will build upon as I discussed. So let us understand our business problem first. Now in this simple linear regression business problem, they want to understand, is there a relationship between waist circumference and adipose tissue, okay. So as I said, point number 1 is what? Point number 1 was to understand the business problem. So let us understand the business problem first, right. So there was a group of researchers, okay. They wanted to understand that is there a different way, or a easier way, a simpler way, okay, to check whether the adipose tissue area in the person, or to calculate the adipose tissue area in the person's body, person's tissues, person's body, sorry, right? So what is adipose tissue? Let us understand first that, okay? So studies have shown that individuals with excess adipose tissue, that is AT, in the abdominal region have a higher risk of cardiovascular disease, right? So we say those obese people and all, they have more risk towards having a cardiovascular disease. And normally you see the stomach or the abdominal region will be enlarged quite a bit, and so they wanted to understand whether, if we have, of course, the historical data, if we have a historical data, then by using this data, historical data meaning the samples taken from few people, maybe 100, 200, 500, 1000 people, and they have checked how many ATs, adipose tissues are there in their abdominal region. So what is the technique currently available? The only technology available is CT scan. Okay, so what they can do is they can try this CT scan, or they already have done CT scans for thousands of people. Okay, they can record all those details of their adipose tissues, okay, with what is the input they want to give to their model, with waist circumference. So if they measure the waist circumference of a person, and if they do the CT scan of that same person and record all those readings, waist circumference and adipose tissue found out from CT scan, okay, if they have these details about few people, can they do, or can they find out something like a technique wherein only by measuring the waist circumference we can be able to predict the adipose tissue, right? So at present, computed tomography, which is commonly called as CT scan, is the only technique that allows for the precise and reliable measurement of AT at any site in the body, basically. But we are talking about abdominal region, that is why waist circumference, okay? But ATs are present in any site of the body, okay? Now what is the problem? Why they want to do this analysis? The problem with CT scan is many physicians do not have access to this technology. Irradiation of the patient, okay, so it suppresses basically the immune system of the person, because you get into that magnetic zone and all, and a lot of people have some problems, and they complain about it, right? And obviously it is very expensive. It is not commonly available and it is expensive, right? So they wanted to find out, is there a simpler yet reasonable accurate way to predict the AT area, right? So which is easily available, risk free and inexpensive. So all these three things should be there. Guys, please give me a minute, there is some noise coming in, right? So they wanted to find out that is there any easily available, risk free and inexpensive way to check whether it is possible just to measure the waist circumference and get to know what shall be the adipose tissues in the abdominal region of that person's body. So that group of researchers conducted a study with the aim of predicting abdominal AT area using simple anthropometric measurements, which means measurements on a human body, right? So what is our business problem? The business problem is the waist circumference and adipose tissue data, okay, is given to us as part of our study, wherein the aim is to study how well waist circumference predicts, this is important word, predicts AT area. So as we have learned in linear regression or in regression analysis, what we have learned is Basically, regression will be used when the output is, we want the output as numerical, right? So number one condition, when we go for linear regression, we go for linear regression when my output is numerical, or I would say, to be precise, continuous variable. Okay, so what do you mean by continuous variable or continuous data type? For that, please go back to my initial videos where I have I have created the complete basic statistics videos, right? So in that we have explained all these details. And secondly, I can have input variable either continuous or discrete. But if I have it discrete, then I have to convert it into dummy variables. How we have seen it in last episode, how to create dummy variables, right? But here we don't have to create any dummy variables. Why? Because here both the things, that is waist circumference is also a continuous data and adipose tissues are also a continuous data. After looking at the data, you will understand this. Yes, so this is how the data given to us. These are the measurements taken, okay, for 109 people. Okay, so you can see over here 109 people, okay, and this data belongs to waist circumference, maybe in centimeters, yes, and this is the adipose tissues available in that person's body or abdominal region, to be precise, right? So what we have to do over here is we have to simply check whether this input variable having any relationship with correlation with my output variable AT, adipose tissue. Now we have understood the business problem in detail, right? So here there are few more points to be discussed. So whenever we try to get into the model building phase, as we have seen, one was understanding the business problem. So business problem we have understood. We have also collected the data. Now the third will be EDA, that we will do. And the fourth will be the modeling or model building, right? Now when we build a model, there are some what you can say measurements or parameters rather, right? There are some model parameters which we have to check, okay? And so we build one model which is maybe a very basic level or normal. After checking the parameters of this particular model, if it is not giving me a better accuracy or if it is giving me more errors, and there are some other parameters which we will discuss when I will show you when we see the summary and all. We have already discussed it while doing the hypothesis and all as well, right? So depending upon those parameters, I will go for another model, and then another model, and then another model. Now what are these models? So these models are nothing but, in these models what I do is I use transformations. So obviously when I will get more errors, if you remember, we have seen the formula for R square, right? So in that my R square has to be, of course the range of this is 0 to 1, but it should be towards 1, right? And we have seen while understanding the linear regression in this formula that R square is equal to SSR plus divided by SSR plus SSE. Now this is my error term, sum of square error, right? So I have, if I make this as 0, then I will get R square as 1, which means that I need to find out a better R square for my models. So what I'm going to do is, if I am not getting a better R square over here, after building the first model, okay, I have lost that. So after building the first model, which I said as a basic model, I will check this R square, I will check some other parameters, and I will decide upon that this model is not that good enough, so I will go for another model, right? So as I said, we are going to use the transformation, and I can go for n number of transformation and n number of models, as long as I am not getting a very good R square. And of course there is one more measurement called RMSE, which is called root mean square error. So we will see this in detail, right? But what is transformation? Transformation is nothing but you can apply any mathematical formula on either input variable or output variable or both, right? So any mathematical formula I can apply either on input variable or only on output variable or on both the variables. And when I am saying it as both the variable, lot of people ask me that if I am using one mathematical formula on my input variable, so can I or should I apply the same mathematical formula on output variable? No. You can apply different mathematical formulas to transform the values underlying your input and output variables, so that what is the objective? Why to apply this? So that my correlation between my input and output shall improve. That's the objective of transformation. So I can go on applying n number of transformation. I am going to apply 4 or 5 transformation today in this video, so you will understand this, right? And please don't worry about code, guys. Okay, so code you can find it everywhere, it is available. The only thing important while building the models is understanding the steps. I remember, I have seen a lot of guys, you know, they used to mug up the codes, or they just, the habit of it, you know, because our learning system is like that. But no, we are changing, we are living into a different era nowadays, right? So the problem is not memorizing, the problem is mining, and that is why this data mining or text mining, information mining, and from mining only we can come up to a good analysis. Why? Because data is already available. Okay, that also, all these things also I have covered. I'm not getting into that. I have already covered that into the introduction of data science videos, right? So this is the objective, friends. This is the objective behind the transformation, right? So we can go for, as I said, n number of transformation, as long as I am not getting a better and better R square. Of course, as much time I have, or as much time given by my client to me, okay? Or otherwise what I can do is I will deploy one model, okay, and I will keep trying to improve upon my modeling offline, and then probably if I get a different kind of a solution which is giving me a better R square, then I can deploy that model as well. Or I may keep on improving upon my data. Like what I can do is I can ask my client to just I'm deploying this model right now, okay, but you keep on recording those adipose tissue areas versus waist circumference for another 100 people and give that to me. So more the data I collect and I apply it into the model, more accuracy I tend to get. There is a chance to it, right? So that's the idea behind all this. Now let us get into the model building. So we can go for linear regression, we can go for logarithmic transformation, exponential. I'm going to show you more than these models, right? So let us try to understand them one by one, right? So I am closing my this web camera, okay, so that a better visualization we will get for our studio, and maybe at the end no, I may not be able to come back on webcam, okay. So henceforth it will be only in R, and probably if I require then I will use one of the slides just to explain if required. Alright, so let's enjoy now how the coding will be done and how to solve this business problem, right? All the best, guys. So first of all, I am importing the data set. So let us import the data which is in my regression analysis folder for simple linear regression, and this is my data, guys. 109 observations, waist circumference is given to me, AT is given to me. This has been recorded, and this data is always called as historical data. By using this data, okay, I'm going to write my different models. But before that, as I said, what we need to do is, as my code is using direct variables, so I'm going to attach, first of all, attach the WCAT data set, okay. So what is the difference between attaching the data set and not attaching the data set is, when I attach the data, okay, now you can see I can directly call this AT and I can get the values for this AT, okay. So AT is 25.72, so this is 25.72, and this is the data of AT. Now I am detaching this. So once my data set is detached, okay, if I go for AT, I will get an error, object AT not found. Why? Because R doesn't understand the column name directly, okay, and for that we have to access it by using the dollar symbol, okay. So right now I have explained this in our basic R programming video, okay, which I have already created, okay. So this attach and detach, everything I have explained. So I am attaching it back so that I can directly access my columns to do the programming. So this is the structure of my data set. I am first of all, so EDA process has been started now, okay. So we have understood the business problem, we have collected the data, now we have started to understand the data. So both the variables are numerical, okay. So I can go for regression, because here my objective is to predict the AT area by using waist circumference, okay. So only one input is given, so I am going to use simple linear regression. Alright, so what is the summary of this data? Okay, this is the summary. From summary, what I can get is all the details, like what is the minimum value and maximum value available in the waist circumference, okay. So how fat a person is, okay, what is their first quartile, third quartile, what is mean, median, etc., etc. And then adipose tissues, the minimum values of adipose tissue and maximum value for adipose tissue. It doesn't mean that 63.5 the person who is having this waist circumference is having this adipose tissue area. No. Maybe a person who is having 90 as a waist circumference can have this adipose tissue, okay. So data can be, so it is a minimum and maximum value available within the data. So that is one understanding we have to make over here. Alright, then after that, what we can do is, obviously we have to check the correlation between waist and AT. So for that, there are two methods, as we have seen, we have understood while understanding the theory of linear regression, okay. So I can use the plot function, which gives me a scatter plot between the adipose tissue area and waist, okay. So plot x comma y is the function. So X is my input variable is west and Y is 80. So I have plotted it. You can see over here, this is the plot. This is how the relation look like. So whenever we plot a scatter plot, we ask three questions, as I have explained it while explaining the scatter plot, right? Number one, is there a relationship between west and 80? Number two, what is the direction of the relationship? And number three, what is the strength? What is the strength of the relationship, right? So by watching at this, we can say that yes, as my west is increasing, okay, my 80 is also tend to increase, okay, for almost 60 to 70% of the values. Maybe 30-40% of the values are not increasing, but yes, there is some sort of a relationship, okay, and direction is positive, which means as west increasing, 80 is increasing. What is negative direction? As west is increasing, 80 is decreasing, okay, but here 80 is increasing, so it is a positive direction. So two things we can get from plot. Now the strength is very difficult, because I may say this is a poor relationship. Some other data scientists may say this is a very strong relationship, or the third person, if you ask, maybe say this is a moderate relationship, right? So for that, we have an objective measure, okay, which is called as correlation coefficient. Correlation coefficient, which is measured by this small r, okay. So COR of west and 80 is this one. So 81.85% is the relationship between these two variables, which is close to strong, as we have discussed in the past videos while understanding the linear regression. Small r value should be more than 0.85 or close to 0.85. So yes, it is good value which we have got. Okay, now what we can do is, before going into the model building, let us first understand more about the data, right? So are there any null values available? So if I want to check that this is 109 observation, I can check it by simply scrolling it. But what if you have more than 10,000 observations or 1 million observations, right? So is.na is the function you can use, okay, and just pass on the data set to it, and it will give you in this way, okay, false, 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 true, 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 whatever it is. Okay, so if any value is missing in the data at any location, it will say true, otherwise it will say false, right? But this is very difficult to understand. So what we can do is simply use sum before this, okay. So it is going to give me summation of all the missing values, number of missing values within the data. So it is 0. So there are 0 missing values in this particular data given to me, right? If I want to check, suppose there are 10, 15, 20 columns, if I want to check for a particular column, I can simply use it like this, WC80 $west, okay. But today what we have done, we have attached the data set. I can directly access the west column over here, right? So we can perform this as well if required, okay. Now let us, we have seen the summary of this. Now let us see what is the skewness and kurtosis of this, okay. What skewness and kurtosis tells us? Skewness gives us the asymmetry in the data, and it is a measure of asymmetry, and it gives me towards what side the long tail or is the data set given to me is normally distributed or not. That idea also I can get it, okay. So to check the skewness, I can use the moments package. So whenever I want to use any package, because this skewness is not inbuilt function, summary is inbuilt function, right? So I can use this skewness function, right? So which is residing in this moment package. So I can call this package, and then I can go for this skewness test, okay, or to check the skewness. 0.13, and this is a positive value. So positive skewness means the long tail is towards right side, right, for the west. And how about for 80? It is again positive, which means both the data are having long tail towards right side, okay. And let us see the distribution now. And you see over here for west, the left side tail is lesser than the right side tail, okay. It shows us that there is some asymmetry in the data, because when the skewness is 0, then you can say that my data is perfectly normally distributed. Okay, in real life scenarios, it is very or extremely difficult to have a perfectly normally distributed data, right? So why it is important, what is normal distribution, all these things we have already discussed in basic statistics. Oh, okay. So now after looking at this data, I can say that okay, I will go with this data, no issue, because there is not a huge long tail available over here. And even for AT, you see over here, again tail is longer towards the right side, but still it is okay, it is close to normal. Okay, and we can confirm that by using our QQ plot as well, right? So QQ norm I'm checking by giving the waist column to it first, and I'm plotting QQ line as well, and you see over here you can say that maybe 50, as we know, 50% data lies between Q1 and Q3, and this line passes from Q1 and Q3. That is why it is called as QQ plot, right? So you can see here that this data is not seems to be that normally distributed. Okay, but almost 50% of observations are 50 to 60% of observations are maybe close to the line or on the line, and 40% are scattered. Okay, so yes, there is not a complete normal distribution. This is another check after looking at skewness, histogram, and we can plot QQ plot as well. And let us plot it now for AT, and you see over here, yes, you can say except this some of the data points, most of the data points are close to the line or on the line. Okay, so AT is probably the normal, but waist is you know, a little bit having a scatter over there, which means that a different waist circumference people are there in our example data. Okay, now there is another technique called box plot, just to check the outliers available within waist and AT. So this is one command, box plot. I can say WC $80 waist. Horizontal equal to true means by default box plot get plotted vertically. Okay, if I want to plot it horizontally, I can say horizontal equal to true. And all these basics, why I am doing repeating again and again, we have already discussed all this in our basics of R or core R programming video. Okay, but still I am, because we are, a lot of people are new to it. Okay, and that is why I am repeating this, and slowly I am going to remove all this from my coding as we move ahead, and there will be only and only case studies of solutions will be given to us. Okay, I will not use this box plot 10 times over here. This is just to explain you what is the difference between writing the code and what are the parameters we can pass and all. Okay, but this won't be anymore while going as we move ahead or progress in our model building in coming videos, right? So if I plot this box plot, you can see over here, from here also you can see a right side tail is little longer than the left side tail, median. So this black line is called as median, right? And it is shifted towards little bit left, right? And there are no outliers, because outliers we have seen while learning the box plot will be represented by dots or circles. Okay, so there are no outliers in our what was this waist circumference. And let us see how about AT. And in AT also there are no outliers. Okay, so our data is good enough or clean data. We can directly go and start model building. The only thing what we may require is to apply transformation, right? Otherwise there is no cleaning, much cleaning is required in this particular data, right? So if I want to plot a box plot in different colors, etc., we can do it. Okay, those people. So this is the basic or default box plot plotting. Okay, the same box plot I have to plot horizontal, I will say horizontal equal to true, and it will be plotted like this. Alright, so that's basic things, basic stuffs. And about scatter plot also, this is a complete or detailed command, you can say. If I want to plot a scatter plot for presentation purpose, I can plot it like this. Okay, this is a detailed scatter plot. which is giving me the same plotting between waist and adipose tissue, right? But look at that, I have written here the labeling also have given in a proper way, little colors have used, okay, the main heading is given, so it is very good for presentation when you go towards your client, right? And this is a simple, I mean the same plot can be plotted, instead of this entire command I can simply use plot WC $80 waist, comma WC $80 AT, that is waist versus AT. This is what we have plotted earlier, right? And see it, then there are no labels, etc. Alright, so these are some basic steps. Okay, so we have already checked the correlation, and the correlation was how much? Have we checked it? Yes, here we have checked it, right? So I am checking it again, but what I am doing over here is, this time while checking this correlation value, which is 81.85, I am storing this value in my first model's small r value, okay? For why, I will tell you later on, because I am going to create a table, okay? So while you start doing your programmings, you know, you should start having this practice as well, okay? So whatever results you are getting, you start storing them into different variables, so that at the end of your programming, when you want to summarize your results, okay, it is going to be very, very helpful. So obviously whenever you do modeling, right, so you write a lot of models. For this, even for this particular business problem, you can go up to 25 models, 50 models. Okay, keep trying, and that is the job of data scientist, right? So I'm right. What I'm doing over here is I'm storing this value in a variable called model1 small r value, right? So I have stored it. You can see over here in the global environment it is available. Okay, so this is my small r value for the model 1 which I am going to build. So let us start building our basic model, to which I am calling it as REG, stands for regression, okay, and the formula is LM, that is linear model, AT tilde west, that's it, nothing else, okay, and comma data equal to WC.AT you can give if you have not attached the data set. But now I have attached, so I can use directly the column names, okay, and I can use this function like this. So my model has been built, that's it. Model building is not a big job over here. That is why I said only this line has built your model, finished, okay, no much coding required. But the thing is that all these steps while building any model, you must keep in mind those things. Alright, so after building my model, I want to check the residuals. What is the meaning of residuals? The residuals are nothing but the errors. What is error? The difference between my actual value and my predicted value. The difference between my y and y hat, right? So what is my y? This is my y. This is my y, which is my given y. For this y, or for this AT, the waist, this is the AT given to me. But after building the model, what my model has predicted for this value is nothing but my y hat value. So the difference between that y hat and this y is going to be my error. So if I want to check the residuals of this model, so these are the residuals. Now for first observation, you see minus 16.84 is my error. What is the meaning of this? So if I check for fitted values of this model, so yeah, this REG dollar fitted values. So if I check those fitted values, now what is the first fitted value I have got? Fitted value is nothing but my predicted value. Okay, fitted value is nothing but not predicted value. Predicted value will be actually for your new data. Okay, but for existing data, existing y, what my model has given me. Okay, so this is the value my model has given. Okay, it has fitted the line, the regression line, in such a way that that point is what you can say given to me by my regression line, this value. Now if you calculate the difference between 42.56 and 25.72, you will get this error, minus 16.84, right? And that is, these are my residuals. Now once I understood the residuals, my objective is that my line should be so linear that my errors, the average of my errors, should be always equal to 0 or close to 0. Close to 0 means approximately 0. So if I check the average for my residue, why it should be approximately 0, we have explained this in while understanding the theory. But then when we plot a regression line, now for this model, this is going to be my regression line. Let us first understand the regression line so that I can explain you better the errors. So my regression line, if I want to plot, I will use ggplot. Okay, so ggplot is residing in ggplot2 library. So I'm invoking this library and I am calling this ggplot function, passing this data wc.at. Okay, on x-axis I'm going to use waste, and on y-axis I'm going to use at, and these are all cosmetics like coloring and all. Okay, so that is not important right now for me. So now this is the regression line which our basic model has come up with, right? So all these blue dots are our original y values, and all y hat values are on this red line. So you can see here, for this particular point where my mouse is there right now, my model has predicted this point, or fitted this point, you can say rather. For this point it has fitted this value. For this one it has fitted somewhere here. For this one you can see, for exact this one, this point, it has exactly predicted the same value, almost, right? So the thing over here is my errors are going to be on both sides, right? So the difference between this and this, so this is my y value, which is my actual value, and this is my predicted value. So here my predicted value is more on y-axis than the actual y value. So y minus y hat, if I do, I will get a negative value over here. Whereas over here, my original y value is at very high level, and because of this regression line, my fitted value is somewhere here. So if I do y minus y hat over here, then I'm going to get the positive errors. Now the idea behind this is, we call it as sum of square error, but ordinary least square errors. Okay, so the line has been predicted in this way that my least square error, why square? Because some errors are negative, some errors are positive, and that is why I am squaring it. So my line is predicted in such a way that my least square error for this particular line, instead of this line if I plotted, or instead of this line I would have plotted, okay, then this line is giving me the least possible error as far as this model is concerned. Now let us understand this, why to check this average of errors, right? So my average of errors should be 0, which means that I am getting a linear model over here. As long as my model is linear, my both sides errors are going to actually cancel each other, has to cancel each other. That is when only I would say that it is a least square error line or regression line, right? So you see over here, if I calculate the average of these residuals given by this model, okay, this is 6.6 at 1709 e to the power minus 16. When I say minus 16, it means 0.1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 6, 8, 1, 7, 0, 9. So what do you think, guys? This is approximately 0, isn't it? This is approximately 0. Yes. Then my condition to say or talk about the model, whether my model is fair enough or not, okay, yes, it is a fair enough model. Why? Because my average of error is 0, it is a linear model, right? Now let us see the coefficient of the models. What are the coefficients? My beta naught and beta 1. These are my coefficients, right? So what is my equation? What I am interested in? I am interested in y equal to beta naught plus beta 1. Look in the console, guys. Beta 1 x. Okay, so here I am replacing this with 80 minus 215.981488, beta 1 3.458859, and what is my x? Let us take any x value over here. Let us take first value 74.75. okay, so I'm taking 74.75. So by using this slope equation of line now, okay, y equal to mx plus c, this is going to be my constant or y-intercept, okay, and this is going to be my slope, and this is the relationship. These values have come up from the relationship between y and x. So if I use this equation, I will get what happened. Okay, sorry, I need to do it in this way. So what is the value of 80? 42.53, or let me put it in this way instead of, so this is the value of 80, 42.53. for which value? For this value 74.75, and the same thing we have seen over here, 42.5682, right? So here 42.53 we have got, because some what you can say, decimal problem is there, but otherwise this is how it has calculated the fitted value by using the equation of line, right? So this is how we have built up the first model. Now let us understand some more parameters by looking at the summary. Okay, so this is a summary of the model. This is going to be the summary of my model, and if you see the summary of REG, that is my model name, formula was 80 tilde west. Okay, my minimum residuals, that is error, is minus 107, and my maximum error is 90, which means this is not a good model, because this is the difference for my actual 80 versus my fitted 80. Okay, this is the highest difference and this is the lowest difference, but actually when we call it as error, this is actually the highest difference, right? Probably this is the point somewhere here, or this point, maybe this value is having the highest difference over here, which is a negative difference, okay, which is giving us this 107.288, right? Now when we plot the summary, what are the different parameters we have to check to understand whether my model is fair enough or not? Number one, I will immediately look at my beta naught and beta 1 values to understand that at where this thing is going on, my y-intercept is going on. Number two, my probability value. My probability value, this is what we have learned in hypothesis. Okay, so my p-value has to be low, which means that my error is low, right? P low, null goes. So when P low, null goes means I shall go ahead and take the action, alternative hypothesis, right? Which means that, in another terms, to understand this p-value over here is, here because it is 2 to the power 2 into e to the power minus 16, means again it is a zero value. Here also it is zero value, so my p is low over here, my zero value, which means if I use these intercepts, okay, it is fair enough. I can go ahead with this model as well, as long as my p value is low, right? But I don't have to rely only on these p values. Okay, I have to check my r square value as well, and this is my multiple r square, that is 0.67. Okay, so this value is also very important. And there are some other parameters which slowly and steadily we will understand about each and every parameter. Okay, so for now we are only going to focus on my r square value and my p value, right? So if I use these coefficients, the meaning of this is I'm going to get this r square, means there is lot of errors available in this model. So I want to improve upon model. So how to improve upon model? By using the transformations, right? So before going on for the second model, what I will do is I will simply store this r square, because as I said, I want to go ahead and create a table about it, right? So I am simply storing this r square values in some variable, right? So before that I am storing the summary of this REG model into this summary model 1 variable, and now I am using the r square component or parameter of this summary model into my model 1 RSQ. Okay, so I have stored this value into this. So we have stored till now the small r value and the r square value, okay, and which we are going to use to create a table out of it. Right. Now let us go ahead and check the model accuracy. Yes, what is the accuracy of the model? So how can I check the accuracy of the model? I can use the correlation between my fitted values and my AT values, right? So these are my actual values. So if my model is 100% correct, which means that I must get the actual value. But if it is not 100% correct, then there is a deviation between this actual value and the predicted value, correct? So that can be understandable from the correlation. If I find out the correlation has to be 100%. The correlation will be 1. If I check the correlation between AT and AT, if you see, if I use this as COR between AT, comma AT, then, oh sorry, what happened? I have detached, I think, AT versus WC dot AT $AT. Then I am getting one value. So this is for any variable with itself, it's like a mirror. It is similar to itself, right? So we are going to get the 100% correlation over there. So this is one of the method to check the accuracy. So my fitted values versus my actual values, I am checking the correlation between these two. So it is giving me the my accuracy. So if I use this model, my model is 81.85% accurate, which is of course the relationship between the base circumference and AT, if you remember, right? All right. Let us go ahead and do some transformation now. So here I'm going to use a square root transformation, and this square root transformation I will be using upon my input variable, which is west, right? So this is our earlier plot. When I plot it between, okay, let me attach it again. That is why it was giving me the error over here as well, right? All right, so this was the original plot. What happened? Alright, I got it. What is the problem? See here, when I print 80, I'm getting only one value because of this 80 I have stored it in this way. It is creating the problem. So I have to do it in a different way. So I am removing this 80 over here. Alright, and I am attaching the WC80 again. And now if I print 80, yes, I am getting some values. So now we can use this. Where is that? Okay. When did I store that value in 80? Alright, I write that code in console. Alright, okay. So now let us see our first basic relationship between the waste and 80, and this was the plot which we have seen. Okay. Now I am going to transform my waste, which is my input, into I'm going to take the square root of it, right? So this is a mathematical formula I'm going to apply on waste, and I'm going to check a scatter plot between 80 I'm going to keep as it is, and waste I'm going to transform, right? So I'm transforming that, and you see over here, this was the earlier plot and this is the current plot. So there is some change happened over here because I have taken the squares of the waste, right? So probably there is some relationship changes happened. Okay, so let us check the objective measure, our small r value, and which is 82.07. So earlier r value was 81.85 and this r value is 82.07, which is a clear indication that there is some improvement in the relationship. So now what I am doing is I am storing this r for our next purpose of tabling it. Okay, so I have stored this value as well. So 81.85 and 82, these are the two small r values we have got for two different models. So let us build our model. I am giving a name to my model as reg underscore square root, and I am keeping 80 as it is and taking the square root on waste, and this is lm tilde, this is called tilde, 80 tilde square root of waste, and I am passing over here data. So whether you pass or not, because I have attached, no need to pass every time, but you can pass it as well. There is no issue for this. So let us build a model. My model is ready. Let us check the summary. Now I am going to move quickly, guys, because we have understood a lot of in details. Okay, so this is a summary of regression square root model. Okay, so formula was 80 tilde square root of waste, and you see over here 107 has become 102 now, which means my error has improved. Okay, improved means error has reduced basically, right? And this is my new beta naught, this is new beta 1, and yes, my p value is very low over here, almost 0, and r square has improved from 0.67 to 0.6737. Alright, which means I have got a better model than earlier model, but still, as we know, r square has to be around 0.80, that is 80% and more, or close to 80% at least, right? So what I am going to do over here is, you can see the fitted values if you wish, and look at that. Earlier was 42 point something, now it is 41, so it has improved further. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to store this r square as well. Okay, because at the end of the model building, I'm going to create a table. Okay, and from that table we are going to evaluate which model was better one. So let us try now a logarithmic model where I'm going to use a log transformation on my input variable, and this is 80, which is output variable, keeping as it is. Look at the plot. Yes, plot has changed again a little bit. Okay, storing this small r value again for model 3. Okay, building the model over here, ln 80 tilde log of west. Okay, log transformation on input variable. So my model is ready. Let us check the summary. In summary, as I said, we have to check p value. Yes, so beta naught and beta 1, we can use this beta naught and beta 1, and this is the r square value we have got. So it is again improved further. Earlier it was 0.6737, it is improved to 6753, right? Okay, so let me check the fitted values. Look at the first value and 39. Okay, so from 42 to 41 to it has come down to 39 now, which means model is improving. Okay, so let me store this r square as well, model r square, and let us go ahead and build now another transformation model, wherein this time I am going to keep my input as it is west. Okay, and I'm going to change or apply the square root of on 80, that is on y variable. Okay, so let me plot it and look at that. The plot has changed again, the relationship has changed. So what is the relationship? Let us check. So it has 84. Okay, so model 1 small r value was 8185, model 2 small r value was 8207, model 3 small r value was 8217, and now it has come to 84, right? So I'm storing this value as well. Building the model by taking the square root on 80 tilde west, passing on the data and building the model. Okay, look at the summary, and yes, you can see here r square has improved. P value is again almost 0, e to the power 09 and power 16 minus 16, which means we are going in a right direction of building the model, right? So let me store this r square as well for further analysis. But here guys, one thing we have to see, as we were interested in 80 is equal to beta naught. What is the beta naught? Minus 6.89840 plus 0.18031 multiplied by 74.75. This is our first input, right? So I am not storing this value, otherwise we will get into the trouble like as I have got it when we did it for the first time. So let us check the value. Now can it be the 80 value 6.57? It cannot be the 80 value, because if you see, actually r square has improved, which means my model is good, error should be less. Then instead of 25.72, it is giving me 6.57, which means that there is a problem over here, and this is not problem actually. What we have to understood over here is, lot of people make this mistake. So we have taken the square root of 80 over here while building the model, right? Which means we have to do a reverse transformation, because we have transformed the y variable. What value we have got is a square root of 80 or fitted 80. Okay, and that is why we have to take the square of this. If we take the square of this, we will get the actual 80 value, right? So if I multiply it twice over here, then 43.29 is the value we have got, right? 43.29. But now another understanding over here, earlier the first model we have got the error for the first value, that is the first input, or the fitted value we have got was 42, then we got 41, then third model we got 39, and here in spite we are having a very good r square, we are getting this particular fitted value for the first input is 43.29. Oh my god, what is this? But then what we have to understand over here is that because we have transformed the y, what happened to our regression line? So look at that. Let me print the regression line over here. What is giving acha? Okay, so we'll put it across, but let me run couple of commands. Okay, so what happens over here, you know, when y we have transformed. Okay, so let me use the slide over here. So earlier we were transforming x, that time there was no issue. Okay, so whenever we are transforming our x, okay, the errors will, so we are still building a regression line over here, and errors will remain almost similar on both sides. But when we transform y, what happened? These y values are getting transformed, and that is why this line at times becomes like this, at times becomes like this, at times can become like this. Okay, so what happened over here is the error calculation when happened. Okay, so we won't get that you know, average of error equal to 0. Why? Because dissimilar errors can be there on both the sides, or dissimilar data points can be there. So here maybe out of 109, here maybe 25, and here you will get 65 points, and there are too many points over here, and that is why what happens, my positive errors or negative errors will be more over here, positive errors will be lesser. In this scenario, probably I will get more points over here, and these are my fitted points. Okay, so when I calculate the errors from my fitted values to my actual values, so I may get a lesser negative errors in this model and higher. So these are my negative errors and these are my positive errors, and higher number of positive errors. So which means what? I will not get the average of error, summation of error equal to 0 over here in this scenario, because I have transformed the y in this case, right? And that is why what happened, that you see over here, there is a possibility that maybe some of the point, that is the first point in this example which we have seeing since the beginning of it, okay, was actually reducing, may increase, but other points which were at the higher or giving higher errors as far as fitted values were concerned, okay, may have reduced it. That is a possibility over there, and that is why my R-square has increased, right? So if you see the fitted values for this, so actually because we have to transform those, right? So what I can do is, in logarithmic model we are there, right? Correct. Okay, so what we can do is look at the fitted values. So these fitted values, no, not this one, we have transformed 80, right? Yeah, so for this model, these are my fitted values, right? So these are square root of 80 values. So what I have to do is, I have to do the square of the fitted values to calculate my errors, right? So here what I am doing is, my model dollar fitted values, I am squaring them and storing it in a one variable, and while calculating the error for this particular model, now my 80 minus my y hat, that is this predicted values. So if you see now these predicted values, you will get this 43.28, 38.33, 61.63. Now let us check with this, and where is the earlier one where we got 39. Okay. Yeah, this one. So here you check here, oh no, 41 it is, no? We want that 31 wala. Oh, this one, 39. Right? The first value is 39, second value is 30, and third value is 68. Whereas, if you check for this one now, this has become 43, this has become 38, and this has become 61. So 68 has become 61, which is reduction happened over here. 30 becomes 38, so there is an increase in this point. 39 becomes 43, there is again increase, and 76 has become 67. 39 has become 43. 27 has become 36, 64 has become 59. So there is, in some errors the reduction happened, in some errors the increase happened because of the curve formation or some different type of curvilinear relationship, possibility of curvilinear relationship, that errors are changed now, and that is why we have to calculate these errors manually. We can't get the errors from the summary. As we can see, if I plot the summary of this model, we got the errors in this way, minus 5.15, but these errors are the difference with square root of 80, right? So we have to square them back, then our errors also will get square, but this is not a way to calculate it, and that is why we are calculating it separately. What we are doing over here is we are squaring the fitted values. Okay, after calculating the fitted values, the difference between the actual value and the fitted value is going to be my error. Okay, and if I check the average of error, I will not get it. Okay, I have now stored this value. So if I check now the average of error, I am getting 2.42. I am not getting over here e to the power minus 16 or something like that. Why? Because, as I said, that the relationship has changed over here, right? So if I want to plot the regression line, you can see over here a curve formation has happened. When I apply a square on 80, square root on 80, okay, so actual values of 80, I have taken the square root on 80, and that is why, because of this, the curve formation has happened, and you see over here the difference of error between the points, okay, is going to change over here. And because there are more positive errors towards this side, these are the negative errors. Okay, so more positive errors are going to give me the positive error over here and not the zero, right? This is the understanding over here. Now let us move towards the next model. Now I am going to build, so let me store first these values. I don't remember whether I have stored it or not. All right, now let us build another model which is called as exponential model. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take a log on 80, okay, and because I'm converting my y variable or transforming my y variable, as I have just discussed, we have to back transform them, okay, and the back transformation for log is going to be exponential, right? So if I use this relationship, look at the plot, and this is how the West versus log of 80 relationship, the data point is the scatter plot. Okay, yes, there is a relationship, and you can clearly see that a curve formation is happening over there. This side it is a reverse curve. Okay, so it's like this. All right, so let us check the correlation coefficient, and it is 0.84 again. Let me store this value, and I'm going to write a model LM log of 80 tilde West, giving some model name there, and checking the summary, and you see here 70.71 is my R square coefficient I can use because they are giving me the 0p value. All right, so this model is also giving me good results, but then again same problem over here. These are not the AT values, right? These are not the fitted AT values. I have to back transform them. So what I'm doing over here is I'm taking exponential on the fitted values of the model, right? And storing those values. So these are my actual predicted values and these are my original values. Difference between them is going to be my error. Okay. And now I'm going to store the R square for this model as well, right? So this is exponential model we have tried. Okay, now I'm going to try, okay, check the accuracy. What is the accuracy over here? 76. Okay, it has gone down actually. Okay, with this model building type, my accuracy has gone down over here. All right, so let us check now. So it is 76.33. Okay. So let us build one more model, and this is going to be our final model as far as this discussion is concerned. Okay, this model I'm going to write as polynomial model or quadratic equation. Okay, quadratic equation is nothing but the equation of curve I am talking about, and those who are from mathematics background, they know this formula, right? Y equal to x square plus bx plus mc. It is going to be my equation of curve. Now there are people who will say that we don't know all these equations and all, right? So for them my answer would be mathematics a little bit. This is the basic mathematics actually. A little bit mathematics, you must try to learn. Okay, basic statistics I have already created videos, you can go through them. But I have not created yet for the maths involved over here as far as data science is concerned, and how much mathematics is required, but not much, but yes, of course it is required little bit, right? So until then what you can do is basically when we transform any variable, as I said, any mathematical formula we can apply. So if you don't know what is the equation of curve, you can simply go on squaring of variable, or taking a square root of it, or maybe multiplying it with some value. Any mathematical equation you can write, okay, as long as your correlation coefficient is improving upon. So we have already checked the correlation between log of AT and west, right? So I'm going to check only for west square now, because what I'm going to do over here is equation of curve means what we are doing over here is I'm using the same variable west, but I'm going to add one variable here. So AT is going to be my output variable, one west is my input variable, which is my bx, that is it is something like y equal to beta naught plus beta 1 x plus beta 2 x square. So this is not a multilinear regression, this is a simple linear regression only. Why? Because the x is single variable, but it has been used twice over here in different transform format. I can use the same x variable for n number of times over here with a different transform values for the x, right? And that is why we have already checked the correlation between log of AT and west in our earlier model. I'm simply checking what is it about west square. So it is 82.07, right? So I'm storing this value, smaller value, into this, and I'm going to build a model over here, writing this code lm log of AT tilde west plus, here it is interesting thing, I'm integrating it with west into west. Why I'm doing it in this way is only because I have not created a column over here naming west square. Had I created another column over here, I don't have to use in this way, right? But this is excuse me guys, this is possibly a good idea to use it in this way, because not every time you are going to create columns over there. Maybe you want to take a square west cube now. So are you going to create another column? No. So you can simply say I west into west into west. That is, integrate it with this, right? So log of 80 tilde west, okay, which is my b1x, okay, plus I'm adding it with b2x square, okay. So beta 1 will be for this model, beta 1 will be for west, beta 2 will be for west square, right? So let us build a model. Look at the summary and look at that. The R square has jumped to 0.779, almost close to 0.80, right? Almost close to 0.80. So this beta 1 is for west. This is going to be my beta naught, and this is going to be my beta 2, which will be multiplied with west square, okay, to form the equation. All right. So let us now, and p values are 0. So yes, p values are significant. R square is fantastic. So I can use this coefficient and intercepts as well as earlier model, but definitely this is going to give me a lesser error is what I feel, but at the end when we compare the models we will come to know. So as we have transformed again 80 over here into log, so I am taking exponential on fitted values, storing them in a variable, calculating the error as usual, and then I am storing the R square for this model as well. Now after this, let us check the accuracy of this model, and it is 82.85% it has given to us, right? Now let us understand some more things. So we are stopping here as far as model buildings are concerned. Now let us enter into the evaluation of model, right? So as I said, evaluation step number 1 is my residuals has to be, I mean summation of my all residuals has to be 0, or mean of residuals has to be 0. So obviously as long as I was transforming the input variable, I was getting it as 0, right? So this is nothing but 0. Okay, here also I have transformed the input variable, I have got it 0. Here also I have transformed the input variable, I got it 0. But from fourth model onwards, what we have done is we started transforming our y variable, and here you can see my error starts to, I mean the summation of error starts to increase, okay. So this is just for understanding purpose, that what happens when the models are being built up, you know, for understanding purpose only. So whenever you transform y, okay, this condition is not going to fulfill, that your average of error or summation of error is tend to be 0, and because of that there is another measure, okay. So there has to be one common measure to evaluate all the models, right? So if I use this method to check only the summation of errors is 0 or not, is not going to be useful when I'm going to transform my y, correct, in regression. And because of that there has to be one common measure. We are coming up with RMSE, and this RMSE is, the long form of this is root mean square error, okay. So what I'm going to do over here is, why we have understood, right? Because this method were only possible when x was transformed, but this method is not applicable when my y is transformed, okay. And because of that I need to have some common measure to evaluate between the models. We have come up with something called as RMSE, root mean square error, wherein what we are doing over here is I am taking the residuals of every model, okay, and then I am squaring them, all the models. If you see, I am squaring them, the error squares, okay. So errors ka square I am taking over here, and then I am taking the average of all those squared values, okay, And after taking the average, so we have got how many observations? 109 observations over here, right? So when I am getting residuals, I am getting 109 different residuals for every observation, right? So when I have squared the values of residuals or errors which I have stored, okay, these errors with difference we have stored, right? So when I squared them, I am going to get 109 squared values. So when I take the average of those 109 values, I'm going to get only one value, because average of 109 values will be one value, whatever it may be, middle mean value, whatever it is, right? So now for that one value, I'm taking a square root over here, because we have studied it in calculating the variance or understanding in basic statistics, right? So we have to bring back our values into normal units, right? Because this is going to be error square, means if this is, we are talking about centimeters, then it is going to be centimeter square, okay? But my error cannot be centimeter square, my error has to be centimeters. So to bring them back into the normal unit, I'm taking a square root on each one of those values, okay, and calculating the RMSEs. So these are my RMSEs for all the models. Now let us create a data frame. Let us create a table to evaluate our model results. Now what we have done over here is we have built up 6 models, and I'm going to create a table now over here, to which I'm calling it as model results, okay? So it is going to be a data frame. So these are going to be the parameters on which I'm going to evaluate my model, okay? So model name, what is my output variable, what is my input variable, what was the small r value, that is the correlation between output and input variable, what is the r square value for each and every model, and what is the RMSE for each and every model. And RMSE and r square are the two things I'm going to use for evaluating my model. So I'm writing over here as data frame my model names. So first model was simple linear regression, next was square root of x, so because I have transformed x over here. Third one was logarithmic, right? Fourth one was because I have taken a log on x. Fourth one was square root of y, right? Or I can call it as square model as well. In fifth model we have used exponential, that is we have taken a log on y variable. And in the final model we have taken a log on output variable at, and we have used the quadratic equation, that is the equation of curve, right? And these will be going to be the respective values for the output variables, that is 80, square root 80, log 80, we have taken log 80. So when I print this, you will understand what I have done. Then the third one will be the waste, so these are the x values of x, right? And then there is a small r value, and then there is a square root value, r square value, and then there will be RMSE value for all the models, right? So this line of code I'm executing now, and I'm changing the column names or giving the column names to it. And now let us print the model result and look at this. So this is the summary of our model results. We have built it 6 models. First was simple linear regression, in which we have taken output y as 80 as it is, input x as waste as it is. The small r value between these two, the correlation between these two was this. The r square which we have got for this model was 0.67, and the RMSE we have got was 32.76. In the second model we have taken the square root on x, we kept our y as it is, we taken the square root on waste, and this was the r value we have got. This is the R square value which is improved, you can see clearly, and this is what the RMSE which has reduced, right? So error has reduced. In logarithmic model, we have kept y as it is, taken a log on waist. This is the small r value we have got, which is again improved further, and this has improved over here, R square value, okay, or increased from earlier model, but this has reduced, RMSE has reduced, right? Then we have taken a square root on 80, we kept waist as it is, and we see R has improved further, R square also have improved, but RMSE has increased over here, okay. In the fifth model, we have taken log on 80, we kept waist as it is, we got improved small r value, R square is improved again, right? I mean better than earlier three models, okay, less than this but better than this one. And then RMSE also has gone up like anything. This is the highest, so this is the worst model, okay. Exponential model is the worst model because here R square also have not that much, I mean earlier models R square was better, so it has reduced a bit, but RMSE increased over here. And if you see the sixth model over here, where we have transformed both the variables y and x, taken a log on 80, we have used waist plus waist square, so this was the small r value 0.82, which is fair enough. This is the R square value 0.77, which is fantastic, and this is the RMSE, which is the least among all the models. So this is going to be my final model, and here I can stop my model building process as far as it depends on what is my time constraint and all, right? So otherwise what I can do is I can keep building on models. So now the question is, do I have to every time write the model and check it, okay, or I can simply use in this way, so something like, you know, simply plot between waist and 80, check in the graph, check the correlation, plot between log of waist and 80, check in the graph. Not seems like you know, too much change. Plot another, that is square root on waist and 80, or plot 1 by waist and 80. Oh, it has given a complete different representation. Let me check the correlation. It is, the direction is negative because as waist is increasing over here, 80 is tend to decrease, okay. So that, I mean not waist, x is increasing, y is decreasing over here. That is why it is a negative direction, but it is still not better than what I have got in my original correlation value, that is this one, okay. So this one was better than this, right? Okay, so let me check with waist comma 1 by 80, or this plot is giving this another representation over here. So let us check the correlation. Oh, it has reduced, okay. So correlation value will be between -1 to +1, okay. As long as it is towards -1 and towards +1, it is better. So let us now try another transformation or another mathematical formula, that is waist to the power 1 by 3 and 80. This is giving this representation. What is the correlation? Similar like the first one. So plot waist to the take a waist cube and 80. It is giving me another representation. Let us see the, so it has reduced, the correlation has reduced 0.79. Let us plot another. So this is, I have taken log of waist and exponential of 80, okay. So it is a some funny sort of mathematical equation. So if suppose there is a person who is not understanding the plotting and all, you know, you can simply go on trying like this, okay, and keep checking the correlation. Once you get a better correlation, like in this case, let us see 85. So 85 is the best correlation we have got for this transformation. That is, we have taken log on waist and we have taken square root of 80. Okay, we got 0.85 as correlation. So now if I want to build a model for this, I'm calling it as ABC, taking a square root on 80 and log on west. So we can do it in this way as well. Look at the summary, 72.55. Oh, this is not good one. Okay, it is lesser than this one, the r square value, but still it is not the only measure to finalize the model. So what I will do is I will check the fitted values. Obviously I have to back transform this because my 80 has transformed over here. Okay, so to calculate the errors I am taking the squares on 80 because I have taken a square root of 80 and calculated the errors. And let us check the RMSE as well, and it is 33.19. so 33.19 with lesser r square than this. So RMSE also have increased 33.19, and r square was also not better than this, 72 it was. Okay, which means even though I have got 0.85 as correlation between the log of west and square root on 80, that doesn't mean that it is going to be the best model for me, right? So this is how, guys, we have to keep trying and doing our research work with different formulas, as long as the objective will be always, and keep the summary like this, as long as my objective is I am getting improved or increased r square and reduced RMSE. Okay, till then it is not satisfying me, or till then I am having a time, or till when my client has given me the opportunity to work on it. Okay, I will keep doing this practice, and I will keep doing work on this. Okay, and trying to build a better model than the previous models. Okay, and of course when you have a summary like this, maybe 25 models, it is easy to understand. Okay, to analyze which is the best model, right? So all right, guys, that's it for the day. Okay, we have learned, we have gone through a case study. We have tried to solve a business problem given to us by some of the researchers, and we can simply write this file on our this thing laptop, so that we can have the same thing in Excel like this, and we can simply deploy this file and tell them that these are the different models which are giving us the results. So what we are finalizing is the sixth model, because it is giving us good r square and reduced RMSE. So I mean, this is what within your team you can discuss, or whatever it is. Okay, so this is what little bit flow I have explained. This is just the beginning. We have just started as far as model building is concerned, and so that's it for the day as far as the case study of simple linear regression is concerned. In our next video, we are going to see what is multilinear regression, and what are the examples of it, and of course we are going to see a case study on that. Okay, in our next session. Till then, if you have really liked this session, please hit the like icon on the YouTube channel, and if you have not subscribed the channel, please do subscribe it. Share it with your friends, those who are newcomers trying to understand more and more. Okay, share my channel with them, and I would request, okay, those who are watching it for the first time, I would request that, because I am going in sequential study, and I believe in that as far as when we are in learning curve. So I would request that you please watch all the playlists available on my channel. Okay, one by one, like introduction with data science. So let me show you for this, so that it will be better, it will help you guys. So if you go here, so these are the playlists I have created. Okay, so you can go one by one, like you start it with this one, introduction to data science and machine learning. Then after that the topic will be basic statistical analysis for data science. Then you come to basics of R and Python, in which I have also discussed about how to download R and Python. So there are 3 videos on this. Here there are 15 videos on basic statistics. Here there are 3 videos on introduction to data science and machine learning. Here there are 4 videos for hypothesis testing for data science, and here there are 3 videos which are already created for regressions, regression basic and linear regression, etc. Right? So of course this is going to be the today's episode is going to be added into this playlist, right? So if you watch it, one by one, it will be very easy for you to understand in sequence. Okay, those who are already into data science and doing or learn some things, they can simply watch it as they wish. But I'm especially saying it for the newcomers and beginners, you can say, that they should come watching one video at a time, and slowly build upon by watching all the video in sequences. Okay, you can also check the date publish, and or simply follow the playlist. That's it, right? And of course, you can also connect to me through my Facebook page. LinkedIn account is there, as I have already given in the beginning, right? And if you have not subscribed, please subscribe it. All the best, guys. Bye bye. See you. Take care.